We don't pay our speakers to come. Sorry, Pep, we will not be paying you. I didn't tell you. But they pay us with their time. So they are CEOs, founders, CTOs of big companies. They're really relevant. They're very busy people, and we're super thankful to have them tonight. So please, Pep, join me on stage. Big applause for him. Stand up. Cheers. Welcome. Oh. Can we? Yeah, we're gonna. Welcome to stage, Pep. How many times have you been welcomed as a rock star?
Is a rock star
Yeah.
or is a speaker?
As a rock star.
Rock star is my first time.
Rock star is your first time.
Yeah.
As a speaker, how much? How many times?
I don't know.
You're very.
So, a few times.
A few times. Good. Thank you for a few times, like 2 or 3, right? At least in the last week.
Not many for the last year, but yes.
Not many for the last year. But very recently, you were at CEO Talks. The guys from Delphi.
Yeah.
How was it? Did you like the experience?
Yeah.
Good friends of
enjoyed it
ours.
pretty much. Yeah. It was very interesting. I mean, it was pretty much more technical, I think, than what you guys do here, but I think it was really interesting. Yeah.
Great. Let's start with the questions. I actually wanted to always break the ice asking about the open mic. How did you see the pitches of the people? Did you find anything interesting? The open mic, the part that we've done before about having 1 minute to come on stage.
I think there's some interesting projects here, yeah. I think there's some people trying to do interesting stuff, yeah.
Great. Let's start. So Pep Gómez, very famous for creating the campus parties. How many years ago was it? It's very, very long time ago. You started very young. You stared very young.
Well, I started collaborating with them when I was 13.
13. What were you guys doing when you were 13? I was playing probably Game Boy or something like that. Then he went and created Fever. He also spent a couple of years in Silicon Valley working for APC. He's going to explain that experience because I think it's very relevant to tonight. And now he's spearheading NUMA in Barcelona, the French startup accelerator. So this is the guy that is leading here. You guys want to get into a real accelerator where all the people working there are full-time. This is the person to talk to, unless he tells you otherwise. So what's the pitch of NUMA? Let's start it.
So NUMA is the first growth acceleration program based in Europe. Also the first European growth acceleration program. We accelerate. We are the result of a joint venture between Mobile World Capital Barcelona and NUMA, which is a global accelerator, originally from France, but then in many other countries. And then what we do is we invest in 10 companies per year during 3 years, so 30 companies in total, and around 30,000 euros to up to 150,000 euros.
Great, thank you very much. Actually, I wanted to ask, like, how does it feel to be on the other side of the table, right? You used to be an entrepreneur, you used to go out for funding, and now you're in the corporate world helping entrepreneurs. How does it feel?
Well, I like to say that we're on the entrepreneur side because despite we invest 30 or 150 or 100 or whatever amount of money we invest in each of the companies, we are really entrepreneur friendly, and we really try to help the entrepreneur on negotiating the best terms for him in the next round, and then how to hire people and so on. So I think in that sense we're kind of different of typical or usual investors. I think we would be much more closer to what Silicon Valley investors may look like, or angels, rather than a corporate or institutional investors.
And how you brought up a very interesting topic here, which is we're more closer to Silicon Valley investors. What do they differ in as opposed to the European investors?
Well, so I think, and this is much of a personal opinion, but my feeling on European investors is that they are pretty much, I mean, there's a lot of different kind of investors, but when we talk about institutional investors, not angel investors, I think there are many, many good angel investors, but I think institutional investors, it's an interesting situation in Europe because their background comes pretty much more from the financial sector rather than entrepreneurs. So because we don't have a tradition of a long history of good entrepreneurs in Europe, because it's just really new and there are not so many people who did exits and then started a VC fund and everything, I think the background of many of the European VCs is more financial backed, or I don't like to say this, but more like East Coast, kind of similar venture capital, what would be in the East Coast in New York. So I always like to say that the eastern you go, the more bankers you see, and then the western you go, the more entrepreneurs you see. So that's pretty much, I would say that's pretty much true in Europe. So just to finalize, I think there are good VCs. There are many good VCs in Europe, Axel, Index, Atomico, and Mosaic. There's many of them. But certainly there's some of them who are more entrepreneurially friendly, and some of them who are more like just money. That's it.
Before delving deeper into what you guys do, how you work in your day-to-day, how you treat your startups in your program, I wanted to ask, how do you come to be the CEO of this initiative? Did that previous experience in Silicon Valley help you?
So I'm the chairman. I'm not as active as a CEO on the day-to-day, but I'm the chairman of the product. I have an amazing team here. Some of them are here today, which helps them to manage this. I mean, for me, it was more a decision of what do I want to do next, right? And then after I spent a few years at Fever and then a really intense stage of my life, I wanted to dedicate more time to spend time with entrepreneurs and with the people I like and to work with the people I like. And it was an amazing opportunity. I joined these guys. They're originally from Paris. They did this joint venture in Barcelona, and then I'm super excited to be helping them and working with them.
How many of you are in NUMA right now? I know quite a lot of them. So if he says any bullshit, just raise your hand. Let me know.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Who are these guys? Can you introduce them more or less?
So Tahir is the CEO of a company called Dogbeat. I mean, I was not supposed to do this, so I think our partners of communication is going to kill us. But no, I think everybody's in the board is going to kill me anyway. He has an amazing company, super awesome, fucking great company. He's a super good, outstanding entrepreneur. Yeah. I'm pretty honored that we have backed him and that we are working close with him. Yeah, it's one of our. Sorry?
All investments welcome.
Well, some investments welcome. I mean, we're now learning.
Some investments.
Not all the money is welcome, but most of you at this stage will be appreciated. At least some of it. And then Martina is our program director. Basically, she's managing the program, the day-to-day. Vanessa is the COO, so she works with me every day. She runs the operations for the program. Gerard Comte is an entrepreneur in residence for growth.
We know him already.
Yeah, he's the guy from Finland and so on. And then Gary Schoenberg is our entrepreneur in residence for product and business development. So this is pretty much the team that we have here today.
Thank you. So you're in the first batch right now, right?
We're in the first batch.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge you have found so far?
So before I fell in love with Gerard and then with his techniques, because we were not that known in Spain or in Europe in general as a growth accelerator program, we struggled at the beginning to get more some applications. So it was difficult for us to get a good deal flow, right? So what we did is we had to do many techniques. At the end, we've got around 900 applications, which I think is a lot. Wow. But I mean, it was a tough thing. We analyzed it, as I say, we analyzed a lot of companies. Some of them we were not sure about them, and then after that we went to all these 900 companies. The funnel, I mean, it were crazy weeks in the office, but at the end we've got, I think, really cool companies and really, I mean, from different nationalities, like 6 countries, 7 countries. So I think it's now it's a really special batch, but we had to make a really huge effort to find good companies.
That's great. What would you describe, because you've lived here, you've lived in Silicon Valley, in quite a lot of cities. What would you think is the best thing about Barcelona startup? One thing that describes the Barcelona-based startups.
So, I spend most of my time. I spent many time in Silicon Valley, New York, London, Barcelona, and so on. What I see in Barcelona is that I think the city is small enough to get to everywhere pretty close, and then big enough to have the international vibe, especially with the Mobile World Congress 4 years from now and all this thing. So what I like about the city is that I think it's a really attractive city to bring talent here. And I think, of course, it has some cons. I mean, maybe we would need more even international connections, like better communication and so on. It's not as connected as London or Berlin or so on. It's almost, but not yet. And I think it's awesome. I think for getting talent here, the weather is amazing, the food is amazing, the quality of life. I mean, I studied fever here, and I love the city. I think it's an amazing city.
Why did you? Yeah, we don't like talking about ex-girlfriends, right? But you're gonna get probably some questions from the audience about fever. Well, why did you start it here and not in?
Well,
let's
because
say London.
my two partners were my two co-founders were basically from Barcelona. Mm-hmm. So we were in another company. We were finishing that company, and then it was the natural thing to do to continue in Barcelona. So.
And do you think this is something that NUMA is actually very interested into, like because they really believe in Barcelona has got this culture of?
Yeah, I think NUMA made a huge investment and a huge effort. I mean, especially because it's a private company, so they made a big bet on the city of Barcelona. Actually, it's the biggest bet that NUMA as a company has done so far. It's around 1.8 million committed.
Wow.
So out of the 4.8 that we will invest in, 1.8 is from us. It's not public money. It's not money from anywhere. It's private money, and I think it's a huge bet for the city of Barcelona. It's all in, right? You need to do it, and you need to do it well, and they need to deliver, because at the end they need to prove that they can actually expand internationally successfully, and then from that on take it to the next level and go to more cities.
Well, let's talk about the program. How long is it? What do you guys do? What's the operations day to day? How do you work?
So the program is a 4-month program, and I would say it's a pretty much different program than any other accelerator program in Europe. I'm not saying it's better or worse. All I'm saying is that when I joined this project, and when I decided to when I started to build the program and to look for people and so on, I had pretty clear that there were many entrepreneurs that I discussed with that were in acceleration programs before, and what they were telling me is that of course acceleration programs in general are super useful. Of course mentors help you a lot, and introductions and networking and blah blah blah. But many times what it happens is that the mentors you get, they tell you one thing, and then another day another mentor tells you the opposite thing, and then at the end it's kind of a messy thing. And at the end what you get out of it is you gave away a piece of your company, a stake of your company, and then I mean, yes, if you were super early, it's super useful. But then if you're in a post-seed mode, pre-Series A, pre-institutional, junior acceleration needs to be really something that entrepreneurs value. So because of that, I mean, the way I decided to manage the program was more based on a full-time people that will spend the 4 months with these guys, even though they are not. I mean, I do not agree that the best kind of mentors are the one. I mean, that having like a program who has that has 700, 800 mentors is a better program. I believe if you have 4 mentors and the 4 mentors are good mentors and they spend the time with you and they see you evolve and they help you and so on, I think it's much more useful. It's just a view of me. It's a thesis. We need to test it, but I think that's the right thing to do. And it's pretty much what VCs are doing with entrepreneurs in residence. So I'm doing the same. We're doing the same at NUMA. So we're having folks like Gary, like Gerard, like Eneko, like I don't know, many people from different fields and from different countries and different backgrounds who actually spend their time full time with the companies for these 4 months. I think it's of course more expensive than any other programs. We invest an average of 80,000 euros per company per year.
Wow.
So for 4 months, so you can imagine. But of course, I think it's way more interesting for the company.
As somebody, because many times you have said that you don't like accelerators or acceleration programs, right, in the past, but maybe that vision helped you to shape a better NUMA. What other things are doing different than other acceleration programs because you had this vision?
I haven't been accelerated myself, so I don't know. I think there's many good accelerators in Barcelona. There's Connector, there's Antai, which is venture builder, but it's also accelerator. There's Waira, there's many good programs. I just don't think that there's any program based on. I mean, we're happy to take companies who have been to a previous acceleration program before, because we don't compete with these guys. So these guys are doing pre-seed or MVP or initial traction, and we're more in the, okay, you got some traction, but you need to get real traction, and then you get to get institutional investors on board, so you need to professionalize the company, and that's where we actually play the game. So that's where our stage and our idea comes in. After seed, pre-Series A. So not that much on the other way around.
Yeah, and how...
Assuming people call seed what they call seed and what I call seed, and then assuming Series A what they call Series A, because there's people who raise 10 million seed. So my point is
not in Barcelona.
Yeah,
though.
well, yeah, there's some of them.
Okay.
I mean, so the point is people who have raised some money have some traction, but they don't have institutional guys. Okay, the big guys with suits and scurry and the guys. So.
Question for the audience: how many of you are looking into getting into some sort of acceleration program? Is there anybody here? Okay, yeah, 3, 4, not many people. Why do you come then? Just, I wanted to ask, what kind of companies are you looking for the next batch?
We look for everything. We look for all kinds of companies. So mobile, even though we are backed by mobile for us means everything.
Yeah.
So mobile doesn't mean a consumer app. It would mean a B2B, it would mean even hardware, it would mean everything. So for us, we're pretty flexible on that. I mean, there's certain things that we don't do, and it's just because my expertise is not on that one, or our expertise at the entrepreneurial sense in the company is not that much about it. There's certain things, like IoT, we don't know that much about it. And there's other programs like a Startup Bootcamp, which are really friends of us, who do it pretty nicer than we would do. But we like B2B, we like SaaS, like B2B SaaS, we like marketplaces, we like everything, gaming, everything.
I wanted to ask, what if
gambling,
these
not porn.
Not porn.
Yeah, not porn.
Sorry, I'm sure these all three guys were into porn.
Yeah, that's why.
But,
I was anticipating that.
You could tell, right? Now, I just wanted to ask, what's the best way for them, for these 3 people that want to get into an acceleration program tonight? What's the best way for them to contact you guys? Should they shoot an email to you, contact you on Facebook?
Yeah, so I just think you should go to numagrowth.com or barcelona.numa.co, C-O, and then you just send us an email and then you will check it out. If not, I will be around here, and all the team is here, so you can go to talk to them, and then they will give you their card or my card or whatever, and then you can meet in our... I mean, our offices are always open, so you can come to visit us. We're in the Pier 01 in the Barcelona Tech City, so you can come to check it out, and we organize many events too, so anytime you want, you're more than welcome to come.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you chose a very strategic venue in the city, which is Pier 01. I believe it's the best project we have had in the last years in Barcelona, most likely, backed by the people from the people of Barcelona Tech City. Why you guys based that? Do you believe that also being in this building brings the community around you? You can meet the people in the building?
I think the building is really cool. I think is the place to be in Barcelona, and I pretty admire what the first guys who joined it there were doing. The guys from Olaluz, the guy from Antai, Wallapop, all these guys, and I think it just made sense for us as newbies of the community to get into the place where all the people is. I think that helps a lot. Yes, to your point, yes, I think it helps a lot because you never know who you're gonna cross with when you take a coffee outside of the office. Many people is crossing with investors, and I think it's a good thing.
I think one of the good things that has got projects like this, that they're bringing people together. You make them be in the same building. You bump into each other when you go in for coffee. Does that bring kind of a culture of Silicon Valley, for instance? When you were there for 2 years. Maybe you can explain your experience. What did you do there? Mm-hmm. And did that really happen?
So I think one thing that still works that we have to work with in Europe is. I think when you contact an investor, it works pretty much with introductions, and you need to get the right guys who will introduce and so on. In the Valley, you can pretty much get a meeting with anyone you want. You just send an email. I mean, of course, you only have one shot. So if you do it poorly or you do it well, it's what it is. You fucked it up, and then they will not pick up your phone, pick up the phone anywhere, anytime anymore. But if you do it well, you can sit down with anyone. I think that's a super powerful thing, because if you have a good idea, good product, good traction, good execution, you can sit with anyone and they can help you, and they will help you. One thing that I think is interesting is when I was working in San Francisco, I was doing 2 things. One thing is I was basically an hands-on guy, working for a guy called Bernardo Hernandez, who was with that time VP of product at Google. And he was investing in many companies, and I was at the hands-on guy, entering all the companies, trying to see which companies were performing okay, which companies we had to fix, which ones of them we had to invest more, less, like not invest anymore, and all these kind of things, And so it was kind of a mix between venture capital and because we had a big stake stake in many of the companies we were investing in, it was a lot of management too. So some of the companies were ours. So for instance, step one, which was for internationalization companies, was ours. Planetaki was ours, and then there's another ones who were not our companies, like Idealista, which for instance, it was managed all along, and we didn't do pretty much anything. So my experience there, working with European companies mostly, and also in the portfolio of the US, what you see is big differences in the culture of the people, the culture of entrepreneurs, and so on. But overall, I mean, for me personally, it was a super cool experience. I mean, I when I arrived there, I didn't know anything about venture capital. I was I was an entrepreneur, that I was a guy who had ideas, and I was making events of technology and so on. I made my first company, but we sold it pretty quickly because it was not super profitable and not super successful. And then when I arrived to Silicon Valley, I started learning by doing and trying and asking people and so on. And I think for anyone for me, it was going to college or doing that. And in doing that, for me, it was super, super cool. I mean, it was 2 of the years that I learned the most of my life, by far. Yeah.
Actually, that's a very interesting topic. That I'm glad that you brought it up. Like, the world is divided by the ones who think that you should go into college and the ones who think that you can skip it, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. You have also recently published something about why did I decide to go to skip college, right? So. Mm-hmm. What's your stake on that? What's your opinion, obviously, for the people who don't know?
Yeah, so my opinion is, I know it sounds like I would even arrogant, but I love working with smart people, and I love working with generally people who, because the way they are, their normal path is to study engineering. So I love people who are engineers, and I love that people actually study. That said, in my case. I'm not saying that I don't like people that don't go to college and they didn't go to college and whatever. Usually I used to think, maybe not anymore, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I used to think that the people that didn't go to college was because they were not smart. And because you're not smart, that's why you didn't go to college. But now I realize
they
that
teach you how to be smart.
Yeah,
right?
because I was always the guy who take good notes, good grades in school. I was taking I was like the top 1% in my class and so on, and like the best guy in the class and everything, and I was really competitive. So one thing that I like a lot is working with smart people. So I don't really care if they went to college or not, as long as they have a story to tell, right? So if you say, Pep, why didn't you go to college? My story is pretty simple. I got the opportunity to work with one of the guys who knew more about venture capital, possibly in Spain and possibly in the world, in the top 100, I would say top 50, and then I also learned a lot about product, which this guy was one of the top 10 guys in product in the world. So I had the opportunity and I took it. And also I was terrified about going and studying for something that I knew I was never going to finish, because I knew that I was going to start something. So for me, it was a decision, kind of different factors that I balanced, and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. But generally speaking, I think it depends on the case, and it depends on anyone, and every case is different. So.
Good. How did you find this opportunity to work for that person? Actually, I think this is something that it's worth saying, because I think most entrepreneurs, lots of people here are terrified of contacting these high-profile people, right?
Yeah. So for my case, I was organizing technology events. It's a really interesting thing, a really interesting story. My mom is a therapist, a psychologist. Okay. My father used to work in the ceramic industry and now in rural hotels. Nothing to do with this, as you can imagine. But my parents were super demanding with me, and they were always trying to make me get better grades and whatever and so on. And then I'm also a musician, so I love playing music and so on. One of the things that I really liked when I started on trying computers and everything, is I really like music production. I didn't know anything about music production. So what I did is I started a podcast, I started a radio program that I was recording at my place, but it happened that basically any non-radio program would buy my program, even if it was 10 euros, but nobody would pay for it because it was so bad. So basically I had to do a podcast. So I had to do a podcast. I was one of the first guys to make a podcast, and I uploaded the podcast on iTunes and so on. And by doing that, I started to get into all this community of blogs, media, AdSense, how you can make money with having a website and everything. And then doing that, I became partners with a guy, and we made a social network. A blog network, which were focused for teenagers. And then based on this, I started to learn more about entrepreneurship. And I said, oh, wow, this is interesting. So you can do whatever you want from your place or with the people you want. And it seems like you can, make an impact in the world. And through technology is easier. And I started to learn more about it. And then I wanted to go to a lot of tech events, but my father, because I was 14, 15 years old, wouldn't allow me, right? So I had to do the opposite, which is I had to get the speakers to come to my city. So I'm from Castellón, Castellón is like a city of 300,000 people, and what I decided is, okay, if I cannot travel because it's expensive, because I have to go there, my parents wouldn't allow me, and so on, I'm gonna start an event here in Castellón and then bring in people from outside. And that's what I was doing. I talked to the folks at Iniciador. There was the Iniciador Madrid, and then I said the next one should be Iniciador Castellón.
Makes sense.
So I said, let's start in Castellón, and then when I started it, I started contacting cold emails to Rodolfo Carpentier, to the guy from also the Facebook, Chris Hughes, or to, I don't know, all these guys, right? And then one of these guys was this guy, Bernardo, and then the guy said, no, there's no way I'm gonna go, Castellón, no, and I said, there's one thing that I really like also about Gerard from Find and Lead, is that being persistent is really important. So even if he said no, I was still, good morning, Bernardo. Today is a good day to say yes to come to Castellón, blah, blah. I think you should come because I think it's a really interesting idea, blah, blah, blah. And then he was saying, no. And after the 15th email, he said, okay, if it's in September, okay. And I said, okay, perfect. And then, I started preparing everything. So that was the way I met this guy. Actually, it was also funny because my sponsor, so I had a sponsor because we had to pay his trip from San Francisco to Castellón. So it was Madrid, Valencia, Valencia in a car, Castellón. It was kind of a messy thing, but we had to do it. And it was an interesting thing because 3 days before, my sponsor said they didn't have money to pay. So I had everything scheduled, like 2,000 people in the auditorium of the university, like wow, full, whatever. And then I had no money. So I had to go and find a new sponsor. That was my first real entrepreneurial situation, having to find a sponsor to pay 10,000 euros, 15,000 euros in 24 hours.
I'm quite curious. How did you do it?
So I went to talk to anyone. I said, okay, a list. I make a notebook. And I said, okay, who has money in this city and can pay? Okay. Major city hall. Okay. Mercadona, but the guy is cheap, no.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't want, okay, no. Do you know this thing? Porcelana, same thing, no. And at some point, I started finding that, and I found these two guys, one from a company called Tissat, which was like a servers company in Valencia, and then another guys who were like Diputación or something like that. And, we did it. They said, okay, and I said, oh my God, okay. And I remember I sent an email to you can imagine Bernardo. I sent that email. Bernardo, I'm not sure. I want to tell you because I want to be upfront with you.
Yeah.
I know you're about to take the plane, but maybe you shouldn't take it because, I don't have money, so I cannot pay you for your flight. I think it's better if you pay for it, and then I will reimburse you.
That takes some balls.
Well, actually, before it was reimbursements, and he was starting asking, but why do you want me why do you want me to reimburse the whatever, right? And I said, no, because it's better, from an accounting point of view, spoke with my lawyers, and then he said, well, what the fuck is going on? So, I don't have the money. But,
Fake it till you make it, right?
So at the end, he decided to come anyway.
Yeah.
Even if he knew we didn't have the money.
Wow.
And that made us really good friends, even if we didn't know each other. And then the funniest thing is that when he arrived to Valencia, we went, I went with this guy who was a friend of mine that was driving us to Valencia to pick up Bernardo to the train station. No? And the guy is 30, but I was 16, he was 32. No? And then I arrived there, and we go to the train station, no? And we go to the middle of the train station. If you ever been in Valencia, it was in the old train station. And I was in the middle with this guy right next to me, and the guy goes, and he goes to my friend and he says, "Oh, Pep, how are you?" No, and I said, "No, it's me." And when he saw me, like, okay, I think, I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to make it. So anyway, he said, okay,
Go on.
Who the fuck is this guy? So basically, I remember we brought him to Castellón, and he said, I have to go to the hotel before preparing to the conference. And then we bring him to the hotel. And then
there was a hotel.
No, he was in a hotel
Okay,
and everything.
perfect.
No. We put it in a hotel, everything, And then, they were almost sponsors. But I also thought that the hotel maybe can be a sponsor because,
Exactly.
you never know. So I said, okay. And then we left the guy there, and then I received a phone call, from this guy called Javier Martin, who's from Logic, a blog from Spain, that he also is one of the founders of Iniciador. And he calls me and he says, Pep, what have you told Bernardo? And I say, what do you mean? Because he thinks he's going to a high school to make a conference. And, he just called me asking me, like, and I said, why didn't you tell him I have 16? And I said, how is that relevant, for him to do a speech? So, anyways, at the end, we convinced him. He went out of the room scared, and he did the conference, and it was amazing. And after that, he hired me. So.
Wow. Take some balls. Big applause. There are two things, two takeaways here. The first one, we said, I sent 15 emails. I thought you would hire Gerard because he's that kind of person who would do that. The second one is, maybe this person was amazed.
With new subject, huh?
Oh,
so
yeah.
he doesn't remember that you sent another one. Because if he sees that it's the 15th email, he'll say, this fucking guy again. No.
Wait, a no profile picture, right?
No,
with a fake mustache.
no profile,
Yeah.
and then a new subject. Because if you do a new subject, a new email.
Yeah.
How are we meeting today? These things are like, you never know. Have we contacted already?
That's great. From this experience, did you take any other learnings as to how to contact these high-profile people? Have you done it again?
It's the same way I got the money from Axel.
Okay.
Yeah, so Nali, I think she was so fucking tired.
For
of me.
Fever, or?
Yeah, for Fever.
Yeah.
Sonali, who was the leading partner in Axel,
Yeah.
the girl who did Wallapop and everything, I think she was so tired of me that she actually received the meeting because I said, good morning, Sonali, today is a good day to know more about Fever. And I was sending all the updates and everything, and I was sending emails to her friends, inviting them to try Fever and all these things, And at the end she said, okay, this guy who's stalking me, either I sue him or I invite him to my office. And she came to the office and then she said, okay, Pep, now I received you, I don't want to invest, bye. And I said, okay, but you don't understand. Let me explain you better, And then I continued doing it until she said yes. So.
Okay, so they say it's good to be politely persistent.
Yes.
Right? Do you think this is one of your best skills? Or is this something you look for entrepreneurs in NUMA?
I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to be super, not kidding now. I think entrepreneurs need to be super assertive, super insistent, like they need to persuade and what they want to do, and they need to go for it. I mean, if you find people who say no, you're gonna fail, you're fucking stupid, whatever, you just get away of that people, and then just focus on the people that adds value to you, and continue trying. I think it's the only way. I mean, if there's two factors, right? Hard work, which is almost everything, and then a little bit of contacts, but you don't need that many, because if you do hard work, you make contacts. You can see, I was in Castellón, I didn't know anyone, but I was emailing people, and I'm here now, but because I also the same way. I mean, I met this guy, that guy, whatever. But I'm the same guy from Castellón and whatever. And I think it's really important to work super hard, and that's the difference, right? I mean, I can't find another way to do things in life.
Working super hard is one of the traits that you find in Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, right? So how do you think this culture compares to what we've got in Barcelona? In terms of working hard.
I think now it's becoming better and better, and I think now entrepreneurs in Barcelona, because of the international influence that we're having, they are all learning, and because of blogs and all these things, they are all kind of being the same kind of engineers and teams that you can get in Silicon Valley. I don't think that's a big thing. I think entrepreneurs can come from anywhere, and big teams. And there's a say that this guy, the founder of Atomico, Niklas Sensor, said pretty
Skype as well.
Yeah, he was the founder at Skype, and he said when he invested, I think it was Joan Talent. He said, great companies can come from anywhere, right? And I think it's totally true. I think nowadays it doesn't matter where you're based. But you know, I mean, what you're doing, what's your traction, what's your metrics, how do you work, how do you think, and all these things. Because nowadays you have all the information online and for free. So.
Some years ago, it was relatively easy to get investment through a PowerPoint, good pitch, maybe a website, something like that. Nowadays, you need to have a product, you need to have a team, you need to have traction, you need to have like a unicorn and stuff. So how do you compare? How do you relate to when you started? Was it easier to say to raise funds, or?
My opinion is that this thing of it became harder to raise money. I think it's the same. I think if before they were asking you for something different, now you need to get better in getting traction. But at the end, it's just, you know, meeting the checklist that the investors want to see. Mm. And I think the bar is obviously a little bit higher because there's more companies and there's more entrepreneurs, and you know, there's a boom of entrepreneurial people, entrepreneurs everywhere and so on. But I personally think that it's I mean, great entrepreneurs get funded. That's what it is.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask. You've raised some serious funding through your years in Fever, right? Mm-hmm. What general advice can you give to the people here who might be looking to raise some funds today?
Well, make sure you need the money.
At least in Spain, maybe.
Well, but my investors, my serious money never came from Spain.
That's one thing. Yeah.
Because the investors wouldn't agree with my terms. So because, you know, in Spain, now it changed a lot. Yeah. But when I was in Spain, there was only 3-4 guys. Like people I really admire, like Caviedes and so on. I think with these guys, it's because they were the only ones that were providing their own term sheet, and I was providing my own term sheet. So it was like, here's my term sheet. And I was like, no, this is my term sheet. Okay. And you know, because I was not taking them, I had to raise from outside capital, from outside of Spain. So my advice would be, first you make sure you how money you need, and then multiply that by 1.3. More or less, and then always say less money than what you want to raise. I mean, always under promise, over deliver. Always try to be oversubscribed. Always try to. And these are mistakes, by the way, that I've made in the past, and I think you should fix them. When you raise money, you shouldn't say the valuation. Do you want to raise the money? At what valuation? These things, it's better not to say it. I mean, for example, if you're raising Series A or Series B, it's better not to say. Even if you want to get 8 million for 20%, it's better if you say, I don't know how much money I need, what do you think, blah, 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 I want to know your feedback, blah, blah, blah. No? Because I think at the end it's more smart, more wise to get a term sheet super fast and then make people compete than, I'm not saying shopping around term sheets, I'm saying that if you have some interest from some folks, talking to them and making people compete and get some interest, than just saying to an investor, no, you know, I want to raise 10 million and I want to give you 20%. And the investor says, but why? How do you sustain that valuation, right? And that's one of the problems that, you know, what they call the bubble, I don't call it that much the bubble, but, you know, there's going to be this correction that is already happening. You know, there was a time, I would say, I don't know if some years ago or in some scenes or some areas, definitely not the areas of events, is one of the most shitty, difficult area where to raise money, because people hate this market. I love it, but people, you know, many people fail and so on. But for example, in the food market, there's like a boom of the valuations and everything. Yeah. And I can see these guys saying, giving valuations by the finger, which is okay, but as long as there's interest out there for that money, right? So I think it's always good to try to get, to see what the market says, and always pay what the market says, not what you say. You will always find an investor that will pay the amount of money you want to get paid for your company. I think that's true. I think you can always find a stupid guy who will give you money for whatever price. At the end, you're a seller, so you can sell whatever you propose if you try enough. But you know, if you're gonna get serious money and real money and people who can really help you and want to help you, I think the best is to listen to the market instead of you dictating the market.
Good one. Well, I'm curious. What are your term sheets? Your terms for the?
What do you mean?
You said that you didn't want to raise money from some investors because they have their terms.
No comments.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Let's keep that one.
But nothing shady, nothing strange. I mean, pretty standard Silicon Valley terms.
Ah, okay.
Maybe non-standard Spanish terms.
Maybe that's the problem, right? You brought them from Silicon Valley.
Now they are standard. Now they are standard in Spain. But but that time maybe they were not that standard.
That was some culture shock. Curious, I'm also trying to go into the last part of the interview when we asked more about you, yourself, how do you organize, how is the day in the life of Pep Gómez? What time you wake up, how do you organize yourself, what apps you use?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, depends on the day, but
When you come from the nightlife industry, I assume you're not a morning person.
You know, it's an interesting thing because I don't party a lot.
Okay.
Since I'm not engaged, but almost. So since I have a girlfriend and for a long-term relationship and everything, I don't party so much. And I don't, you know, in general, I'm not a super party guy. I mean, I love concerts, I love music, and so on.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm a guy who wakes up early, likes to wake up early. I'm pretty used to get up early, even if I don't want to. Sometimes it's really bad because you know you're really tired, and then you wake up at 8 a.m. or whatever, and then if you actually mix that, now it doesn't happen anymore that much. I mean, of course, I travel a lot and so on, but before I was doing all day, San Francisco, New York, Barcelona, London, Madrid, whatever, London, where I lived for the past 2 years. So it was like a kind of crazy thing. You know, I was with the jet lag, plus waking up early, plus whatever. So it was a messy schedule, and now I'm pretty used to get up at 8 a.m. I start reading emails and so on. Then after that, around 9 a.m. more or less, I get going to the office. I arrive at 9:30, and I stay there till 7, something like that. I don't like to stay too late because I think you're not productive that many times. And also, I'm trying to put this culture in the office of trying to, you know, I wouldn't say the Pomodoro industry or the Pomodoro culture, but really focused. I mean, I don't like to get distracted. I don't think people likes to get distracted either. So I think that's really important for in general teams to move forward, and you know, basically it's not a matter of hours, it's a matter of spending the right time, focus on the right things, and then I'm a huge believer of that more hours don't make the work better. So
yeah, I was going to ask about this posing culture that some of us we don't agree with, right? Which is in order to be an entrepreneur, you need to be working 24/7, 365 days a year.
Well, if you don't have money in the bank account and you have a debt of 700,000 euros, which happened to me, and tomorrow you need to pay salaries, you need to work 16 hours.
Yeah.
Before you get the money of the next round. No, but in general, yes, I agree with you. I think I'm a huge believer of the same culture of you. We were discussing before, starting about the base camp guys, the remote guys, and all this culture and so on. And you know, I mean, I think my own mindset changed a lot for the past years. And you know, at the beginning I was a huge guy like, oh, we need to work every day, 12 hours, whatever. And I realized people get more work done and in a better quality when they actually work less hours, but more productive in a good environment. So I think that's really important.
When did that change come? Why
I
did you change mentality?
Yeah, I think when I started the company, I was in a lot of illusion and 18, 19 years old, and then you start realizing when you start managing big teams that that's the way it happens, the way it should be.
You grow wiser, basically.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just to give a general impression here, or the picture is how big was the biggest point you reached with Fever, like in terms of team. And
team, I think, because we had maybe people part time and so on, but maybe worldwide like 120, something like that. Now it's more efficient, the organization, so we're around 60, 70 people more or less. But yeah, we raised to 120 in the starting moments where we were doing a lot of manual stuff for acquisition and so on. We had, I mean, there were peaks that we need a lot of people. That was the peak, and that was also for a few months, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then regarding that's pretty much. Offices in London, New York, and Madrid.
Well, I also wanted to ask because obviously with Fever you made it big, but you've also done the podcast. You organize the campus parties. Now you're at NUMA. You had this other company you sold. You produce your own music. Like you seem to be a person who likes to do a lot of things. How can you keep your focus?
So I think because I say I do a lot of things, it seems like I'm a little bit distracted, but I'm not. I'm really focused on what I like at every time, and I prefer to spend less time in doing something, but being super focused on that and one thing at a time, and doing multiple things at a time. So when I do something, I'm really. If you see me now, you see me that I'm always pushing the same vision, even if I'm doing at NUMA and I'm doing advising other public companies and doing many other things, but always following the same vision. Now I'm really focused on digital transformation, entrepreneurs, how entrepreneurs are disrupting traditional. Still, there's a lot of traditional or old kind of traditional businesses that haven't been digitalized. So I'm really pushing that in many ways, investing, managing with NUMA, as I said, advising some companies and so on.
Yeah, actually, we were commenting before the event on how you see that the banking industry is going to be disrupted or completely obliterated, actually. But well, can you share this, your vision? How's the?
Well, I'm really interested in the financial sector, just because I mean there's many sides of it, right? But I think there's I think there's a lot of information, but just to summarize it, I think blockchain has given a lot of possibilities to build around the smart contracts, the smart mortgages, all these kind of new things that I think are going to appear in the next few years. I'm really into blockchain and really interested into what's happening out there in this thing. That applies to the financial sector. I think it has a lot to do. I'm really interested in both the investment side, and those are all these robo traders with ETFs like Betterment or all these guys. And then there's the Betterment. There's many of those. Indexa in Spain, for example, which this is you investing your own money. Let's say bringing private banking, democratizing private banking for individuals, right? Bringing private banking to the humans, and I think that's a really interesting vision. I'm really interested in because you reduce all the cost of having the portfolio manager and the advisor and the whatever, because it's all robot trading, so that's super smart. And then on the retail side, I'm really interested too, because I just can't see the value that a bank offers to their users right now, at least the traditional banks. So I think all of it is going to this one. So companies like Revolut, Moniz, you saw my cards, right? So Revolut, Moniz, Monzo, all these companies, number 26, whatever. I mean, there's many companies who are revolutioning. They are revolutioning all this industry, the consumer industry, and I think it's really interesting. I think the next thing is insurance, mortgages, whatever loans, whatever you do, whatever the banking business is. So I think that's into credit,
Actually, when we were talking about this, he takes his wallet and he takes 3-4 different cards. So are you an early adopter of new technologies as well?
Well, I like to try everything, right? So I like to try all the products that we invested in. I like to try many companies in these areas that I'm looking at, and I'm a super nerd. I really like when I get into something, as I said before, I really like to get deeper, not to just be in the surface, but just to get deeper on this. So now I'm looking at this, but 3 months ago I was looking at 4 months ago I was looking at developer tools, and then I came up with Dogbit and I met Air and so on. So I think it's mostly, for me, it's mostly obsession, looking at things that obsess me and try to get the most out of it, and then I will go to the next thing. But I'm trying to know a little bit about the thing that I'm trying to, and there are many things I don't know about. There are many hardware, I don't know many things about hardware. There's many VR now. I'm learning a little bit, but I don't know that many. But I think it's huge, but I don't know. So there's many things that I don't know that much that I'm interested. So if I don't know, I just don't. It's pretty easy to see me going. When you're a guy and you want me to invest or help you or whatever, it's pretty easy to see me coming and what things I'm looking at, what things I'm more interested into, and so on.
Cool. Last 2 questions before we go into the Q&A, and I'm finishing my voice actually. First one is, how can we help Pep Gómez or NUMA for that by using Startup Grind with Startup Grind?
So Startup Grind, I think it's an amazing project. I think it's I read about it, of course, in the past, but it was the first time that I came to one, and actually as a speaker, it's an amazing experience. I'm really thankful to what you've done for bringing me here. I'm super excited to meet people from Barcelona, outside of Barcelona, and I'm just grateful, and also I think it's a huge opportunity to NUMA to get known in the ecosystem and to meet all the local players in the ecosystem. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you. And the last one is, and this is the most interesting question of the night, after yours, of course. But everybody has got a useless superpower, something you do always exceptionally well, but it's not useful for anything. What is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's
Is this how you get inspired, by just going circles?
I'm thinking, I'm thinking.
You're making.
Yeah, I have this frame of eccentric, so I can start doing this, while I think. I'm just I don't know. I mean, I think I play Christmas songs pretty well at the piano, but it's not really useful. You know.
That's a very good one. Thank you very much, Pep.
Thanks, actually.
So, shall we go for the questions? Carlos is going to bring the mic. Who's going to start? If not, I will keep asking questions. Okay. He got the threat. He got the warning. Great.
Thank you. Hi, amazed by the use that you bring and the depths. I'm very amazed by that. You are very young and you already have a lot of depths of experience. So I'd love to ask you a question about the emotional roller coaster. I did my startup, and what has been the toughest part, other than getting money, which is something you struggle with, is the emotions that goes in your life as a startup.
Yeah.
You go from amazing, this is...
It's a roller coaster, yeah.
Tell me more how you handle the emotional roller coaster as part of your experience.
So I think that's an interesting question. I think you need to, at some point, you need to separate your company from you. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and you start, you really get into the company. And I think it's really important to have a personal life aside of your job, your company. I think that helps both you and the company. And how to manage roller coasters, you just can't. You know, I mean, it's like you do it and that's it. You know, I mean, you get to the office, you're about to get out of money. You have a lot of. I mean, I had these situations and where I had to go to 80 employees and sit down and say, "Hello, everyone. If anyone wants to leave, now is the moment to leave because we don't have money. I think we're gonna get the money by next week, but I'm not sure. So at this point, I cannot pay you the salaries." But and then I was super lucky. This happened to me in 2015, and I was super lucky because nobody left. But I was super honest with the people and said, and this is a really difficult thing to do, and the way you say it is difficult. Huh? It's really difficult to say that, and I think because you suffer about people, their families, everything, and these situations, if it happens, it happens, and you need to do it and you need to say it. So I always try to be super transparent with the people and with whatever situation in your company is. I would encourage an entrepreneur to do that. For example, in Fever, I gave stock options to everybody. Everybody in the company had stock options, and it was a super important thing for me. Even if it was not important for them, it was really important for me. And I think one of the reasons why these people kept is the culture, but also this thing. And I think that's super powerful, stock options, ownership of the company, and so on, because they believe they actually belong to the same thing, and that's super important. So when you're in the roller coasters, it's better if you are 80 people in the same roller coaster than if you are one guy in your roller coaster, So for me, it was really important, and many people say, "No, but why do you give stock options if they don't care?" I say, "Okay, no worries, they will care one day, When this value is out of money, it will be like WhatsApp, that everybody, the intern bought 3 Ferraris, So it's I think they will value one day, but also they will feel this sentiment of ownership, which I think is this feeling, which I think is super important. And it helped me a lot, I was always generous with this. And it helped me a lot. You get some disappointment sometimes, but generally speaking, it's a really good thing to do. And you need to live with it. The good things, the bad things, and everything.
Pep, when you ran out of money, what did you or the company do wrong?
What do you mean?
Why did you run out of money?
Why?
What was the reason behind it?
There's many reasons. Maybe one of the reasons is because generally speaking, investors, when they invest in you, they wait for you to run out of money. So you can have an investor that is basically, you have money for 5 months, and then he makes you a term sheet, and he's waiting for you till you get out of money and then to get a better valuation or whatever. This happens many times. So that's why now, every time that we need to raise money, we make sure that we have 1 year or 2 years of cash left, so we don't have this problem, right? But I didn't know at the beginning, so these things you don't know, especially, it happened to me once only, which was in my first institutional round, So in my first institutional round, I didn't know, and they were and I had 2 term sheets, I had 2 interested investors, but none of them was actually moving forward and being slow. And at the end, I understood it was a negotiation tactic. So it was so at some point, it's just because it happens. It happens to every company. I mean, when the entrepreneur is the first-time entrepreneur and first-time institutional money came in, and you're first-time entrepreneur, I think it's pretty usual that this happens. Good thing is that nobody in the company cared. So they said, okay, Pep, if you tell us this, we will keep trying, and if not, okay, it's okay. Because, I always paid well to the people, and I always had the people happy and trying to, of course, many people got, when you manage a company of 120 people and you have a lot of rotation and so on, many people can get angry with you and whatever, and they can agree or disagree with your culture, and that can be controversial. As this morning Alex said to me, it can be controversial, but, at some point what you actually realize is that, if you actually have the right team with the right culture, once you get it, it's so powerful that, they didn't even care. We said it and they said, no, Pepe, it doesn't matter. I said to the CTO, talk to all the engineers can get a job like this, paying 30% more than what I was paying, and they were all saying, okay, Pep, we stay here. We don't care. And we appreciate that you're telling us this, We actually explained it to them. I made all the pitch, the investors to them. I explained the cash flow situation, everything. How much are we paying everybody? How much are we? Full transparency. We were doing the deck, personalized pitching to all the engineers, then personalized pitching to all the salespeople, product people, everybody. To explain, okay, this is what I'm selling. Do you believe it or not? They say, okay, I don't believe it. Okay, just go away. I pay you whatever I need to pay you when I have the money, and you just leave, And then all of them, it just happened that said, no, I want to stay, This happened to me once. It was a really tough moment. I couldn't sleep. It helped me a lot, Maybe I was lucky. I don't know. Who knows?
Thank you. Next one.
You had many investors over your career. Did you ever have an investor not meet the terms or pull out or?
Can you? Sorry, I couldn't get it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you ever have an investor not meet your terms or like a bad investor?
Bad investor?
Yeah.
No.
No.
What is a bad investor?
An investor that didn't meet their terms, or maybe
nobody
they
meets the
out.
terms. If they meet your terms, it's not. You can say, okay, fuck you. I don't want your money. I prefer to die. If you agree, because that's a very bad signal. None investor would agree. I mean, it's a middle point. It's a negotiation. You start here, and you say you're gonna get here. So normally, they start here. It's more important that you actually start there. So they think it's here, so it actually goes there, But yes, at the end, you always know that you need to ask for this and you will get this. So it's a negotiation. So, and it's good, that they see you negotiating and tricky and so on. If they don't see you doing this, also, if I were an investor, I would say, okay, Pep, you know what? If you accept all my changes, I'm not going to invest. Bye. Because I know if this guy doesn't fight for it, it wouldn't fight for an invoice, it wouldn't fight for a provider, it wouldn't fight for a salary when an engineer gets a better offer. So for me, it's all about, how you negotiate. And it's a part of the due diligence, for me at least. Part of the due diligence is seeing how he reacts, I'm, for example, I'm all about emotions. I'm Spanish, like pure Spanish, toro. People say Italians are like us, but I say I start and we're in this meeting. Okay, Alex, this is the terms, and then you give me your terms. I say, oh, Alex, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is? Let's stop everything. Let's fuck it up. Let's fuck you. You're a fucking asshole. Whatever, So I used to do this all the time. So they say, oh, okay, and I say, no worries. I was just kidding. It was I was playing. I need to be an actor, because you need to do these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way I am. And other people, it's just like more silent. It depends on the person, I'm just more like a drama guy. Like, I'm gonna my hurts. I couldn't sleep last night because you don't give me love. Please, I don't know what I'm gonna tell to my previous investors and my employees. Please, this is really disappointing.
After the negotiations?
I don't think I can continue working.
Did you ever have a problem after negotiations? So you agreed something, and then an investor said they didn't want to invest anymore? Or?
What do you mean? Sorry.
So after you've negotiated an investment?
They don't do that.
They don't do
that. When an investor agrees with you a term sheet, it's a pretty bad signal if an investor changes your term sheet. It's a pretty bad signal if an investor agreed something to you, you signed it, and after the negotiation he changes it. It's a really bad reputation for the investor. I mean, when you're negotiating, even touching Alex, which I just did, sorry about that.
No problem.
Matters. Everything is important, everything is worth it. You can do everything, it's the war. But once the war is done and you sign it, if they change, it's super bad reputation. Super bad reputation. Like I mean, I haven't seen that in my life. I mean, it's a really, really bad sign, no? If somebody, I wouldn't say that people usually do that. People, what they do is they negotiate a lot. Hard, super hard. For me, I had many difficult negotiations, you know, like, also because I was really, I like to negotiate, but, you know, if you agree to everything, you know, I wouldn't be here, so I would be still working at Fever every day, and, you know, for the next 20 years.
Next one.
Hey, Pep, how you doing?
How are you doing?
You said a bunch of interesting things. One of the things that I found really interesting is that you said you don't have to work crazy hours in order to be productive, right? So as a business owner myself, we're implementing different kind of things to improve work balance, to improve productivity. So I was wondering, what would you advise a startup on like planning a week or working hours or these kind of incentives?
How would I advise on startup?
Yeah, what would you if you run your next startup again? How would you structure it, like as in working hours or?
Well, free schedule is what I had at the end. I mean, like for the past 2 years at Fever is what I did. They had pretty much. We're talking about engineers, huh? Free schedule, non-schedule. I mean, we would say that people are mostly in the office from 10 to 6. But not really in schedule. I mean, if you
people
see
were
somebody
free to come and go when they want.
Huh?
People were free to come and go when they want.
Free to work from home, free to do whatever they want. I mean, I don't care, right? If they are motivated and they work in the GitHub, it's not that like you need them to be, you know, spending time in your office. Maybe they cannot concentrate.
No, I agree. It's
They
about
have salespeople
objectives, not about
around.
hours.
It's a really, you know, and there's some people who actually do 3 times the work when they are at home. It happened to me at Fever, some people, when they were at home, was like, you know, Pep, I'm going to go at home. And I was like, yes, we're going to have, you know, 2 weeks of work done in 2 days. So, because they were addicted and they were super happy working from home and everything. So, you know.
Next one.
Hiya.
Hola.
Hola. What was the worst mistake you made that you wish you had never made when you were starting
worst
your company?
mistake?
The worst mistake that you just wished, when you look back, you wish you never done.
I did a lot of mistakes. I mean, the worst mistake. I don't know. I mean, I made a lot of bad. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, but like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what would be the worst thing. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, like how to hire people, and I learned a lot of things about hiring, about management, about, you know.
Say one.
Yeah, one. So, for example, when I was saying before about long hours, like, I don't know, hiring somebody because I think he's really. For example, a mistake that is pretty usual, and it's not a mistake, like, but it's important, is I used to hire people based on what's the personal empathy that I had with them. So I was seeing this guy that he was really popular in social networks and everything and whatever, and I said, okay, I hired this guy. But I don't know if he was good or bad or whatever, because I really thought that was the cool thing, no? This must be a really good guy because he's really. And then I realized that maybe there's many people who's low profile, but they are way better, you know. So maybe one of the mistakes I made is at the beginning I was really arrogant and less humble, and I think it's more important to be low profile and humble and so on. I think that's a really good thing. And I think I made this mistake at the beginning, of course.
Yeah, we got 2 more. Yeah, we can do the 2. Yeah.
Hi, Pep.
Hola. Hi.
Hola. She asked you about your past. I would like to ask you about your future. How do you see yourself in 20 years, in the next 20 years? Maybe in the
20
same,
years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I said 20. Well, if you want 5 and then 20.
20 years with children.
Okay.
Doing Legos and robots, and I don't know if Legos.
Legos, I don't think so.
I know, it will be VR Legos, 3D Legos or whatever.
I don't know if maybe you will go on with startups and accelerating, or maybe one of your projects you will take it as yours. Would you like that?
I can't tell. I don't know. The future is the future, right? So you never know.
That's a good thing. It's still not here, right?
That's the future, you know.
Yeah. That will be the title of the blog. But the last one.
Unpredictable.
Hi. So I wanted to ask you, because you were really related to product in Fever. Fiber? What did you say it?
Fever.
Fever. Sorry.
Fever.
Fever.
Like
Passion,
fever.
passion.
Yeah. Okay.
Fever all through the night.
Were you pushed from the investors to pivot into the model? Because I followed a bit, and you were pivoting a bit in the model or what you were doing.
Yeah. So
were you
neither-
really pushed into changes, or did they respect your thoughts or what you wanted?
The investors?
Mhm.
No, so we changed it because, so not the investors. The investors were always happy, you know. It's us that, you know, in order to get traction, we had to pivot the model because it was not working. So we had to change like the product like 3 times. At the beginning, people could create their own parties, their own events. And then we did a lot of social, but then we found out 90% were boys and no girls were coming because, you know, dating and social, it was difficult. So at the third, let's say, iteration, was more us creating the events with the partners, and then I hope in some point in the future we can allow people to independently create events. But I think the vision is always the same, no? Helping people to discover what to do with their life and to discover what to do tonight. Sorry, sorry, because I'm a really bit oxidated from the pitch from Fever. I used to know everything from it. I don't remember that much, but our goal is the same. It's empowering the people to make better plans. So for doing that, it's you need to actually, I mean, you need to try many things, and I think as far as I know, for event discovery now we are the worldwide leaders, but you know, we're only in 5 cities, so we still need to keep growing. And there's an amazing team out there, actually, doing that.
Oh, before we wrap this up, anybody at NUMA wants to ask him a question about the future of NUMA? Yeah, I know it.
Gerard,
He sent me
I can't believe it.
He sent me 15 emails
Can you
to get
really
this
believe
question. Yeah.
this guy is super shy, you know. He
Yeah,
never talks
he's
at the
super
office.
shy. We don't
He
know him.
communicates with us only through Slack.
Only through Slack, yeah.
Pep, one question I have sometimes. What's the uncertainty that you have with the companies that you have inside, and how much pressure you can have for the next batch? Because then the stake is on.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, that's a good one. I'm just saying.
I'm not an
how-
engineer, sorry about
Yeah, yeah. The thing is,
I'm not really.
the companies that now they're living from. Let me think. One second. Yeah, this batch that is just about to leave. Well, it's just now cooking.
About to leave? In 3 we're in the first, we're in 25% done.
My question
Dude,
is,
you're
how
there.
much pressure do you have now that the companies that we have now in NUMA,
Yes.
the pressure that what success they will have, and also the next batch coming in?
The pressure I have?
Yes.
All the pressure.
Give me more. Come on. Okay, 2 questions. Let's make it serious. One is, now that you, what's the? Okay, let's focus.
Let's rephrase it.
So let's say that it's in my interest that the companies do well.
And
That's
what
all.
about for the next batch as well?
Of course, for the 3 batches, for the 30 companies. It's on my interest. Economical interest and personal interest.
You get the point. You get the point. You need to... Please, everyone, stand up. Wow, thank you very much.